Hey there, it's Ann Pearson, and welcome back to another episode of the Paralegal Coach podcast. Let's jump straight in today. No theme music, no long intro, because if you're listening to this, you're probably already feeling the pressure of a paralegal workload that seems to multiply the second you get to your desk. And I want to get you out of that overwhelm as quickly as possible. So here's my question to you. Have you ever sat down at your desk, opened your email, and immediately felt behind before the day even got started? If so, you're not alone. And you're not doing anything wrong. You're just in the legal profession. Sorry about that. But today, we're talking about the number one pain point for paralegals, and particularly new paralegals. One that shows up in every survey, every industry report, every law firm I've ever trained, and every coaching call I've ever led. It's the workload. Or more specifically, how to get a handle on a big workload before something gets dropped, or there's a mistake that gets overlooked because there's not enough time. But here's what I want you to hear right from the start. You can learn how to get control of this much faster than you think you can. And once you do, everything else in your career gets easier. Before we get into the framework, you know I've got a good framework, I want to share a quick story that you might be able to relate to. When I was a new paralegal, I remember sitting at my desk one afternoon, feeling pretty good about what I thought it was caught up. And then my attorney walks in, drops a Redwell on my desk and says, "We have a hearing tomorrow morning. I need exhibits pulled, indexed, and in notebooks before you leave." And then he walked away. No explanation, no list, no heads up earlier in the week, just, "We have a hearing tomorrow." I remember thinking, how long has he known about this hearing? And why am I just hearing about it now? Sound familiar? What I didn't understand yet was this wasn't personal, and it wasn't about me being new. And it wasn't because I was doing anything wrong. It was because attorneys live on completely different timelines and sometimes different planets when it comes to urgency and preparation. But that moment became a turning point for me because I figured out how to manage my workload proactively, not reactively, and my entire career changed. That's what I want for you. So I want to give you a 4-step blueprint for controlling a paralegal workload. This is where I want you to take notes, but I also know you're probably driving and not going to be able to take notes. So I have put this together for you in the PDF download. Go to paralegaltoolkit.com, and I've got an 8 sections to it because I'm going to be doing a different podcast episode for each section that's in that toolkit. So go to paralegaltoolkit.com and then print out the download, take notes on it, and have it available for you. This is what's going to be in section 1 about workload. And here's your 4-step blueprint. Step 1, prioritize by impact, not urgency. Here's the biggest mistake new paralegals make. They look at their email inbox and assume the first request is the most important one. Or they see urgent in all caps in the subject line and think that one must be done first. But urgency in the legal world is often an illusion. Instead, I want you to prioritize by impact. The biggest impact, if you're in litigation, is there a court deadline? In other words, it has to be done by X date according to the court's scheduling order or the court rules. If you're in a different practice area, that might be something like a deadline for serving a response to an office action from the trademark office, or a closing date for your commercial real estate transaction. So if there's something of one of those types of impacts, that's what you look for first. But there are secondary impacts to consider if it's not one of those. Secondary impacts might be, ask yourself, what moves the case or the file forward? What's dependent on someone else's deadline? What affects a client deliverable? What affects a strategic decision? When you start prioritizing by impact, not noise, you automatically protect your time. All right, step 2, map out the work before you do the work. This one right here is a game changer. Before you start an assignment, especially one that feels overwhelming, map it out. Just take 2 minutes, rough bullet points. What actually needs to get done? Most of the overwhelm that happens is because you haven't broken the project into unique tasks or steps yet. For example, prepare discovery responses. That isn't one task, it's one project. It's actually review the requests, pull prior responses, collect and review the documents, maybe make a call to the client for additional information, draft your set of standard objections from your template, draft the responses, revise it with the attorney, prepare signature pages and send to the client if it's interrogatories, serve a copy on opposing counsel, and file the notice. No wonder it feels overwhelming. It's not one task. It's 8 to 10 tasks to get that one project done. Mapping gives you clarity, and clarity is going to reduce stress. When you see that list, that bullet point list of the smaller tasks, each one becomes more doable. Plus, you see more progress when you start checking them off your list. And as you know, if you've listened to the podcast for a while, I love a good checklist. Checklisters Anonymous, people, raise your hand. All right, step 3. Verify deadlines and assumptions. This is where new paralegals get into trouble. And it's never because they're not smart. It's because no one ever taught you to double check the things attorneys forget to mention. Every paralegal assignment should include these types of questions. What's the deadline? Is there a backup or other deadline that I should know about that relates to this or affects this project? Do you want a first draft or a finished version? Is this going to opposing counsel or the court? Or if you're in real estate or another, it could be, whoever the other parties are. Here's the truth. You are not being difficult. Don't look at those questions like it's someone who's being difficult when they receive an assignment. You're being a professional. I want you to remember that. Asking questions, clarifying questions that verify the deadlines and remove assumptions, that's you being a paralegal professional. Step 4, eliminate micro time wasters. Micro time wasters are silent killers. Doing things like searching the same file 3 times for different information throughout the day, or writing every email from scratch because you don't have templates. Interruptions, whether that's interruptions by phone or people dropping by your office, or constantly checking your email and other computer notifications every 10 minutes, even though you really don't need to check them, but once every 30 minutes or an hour, unless, of course, you're in the middle of an urgent project and there's going to be constant communication with the team. Another big micro time waster, actually I might call this a big time waster, but it would be redoing work because you didn't clarify something earlier. That's a huge time waster. These aren't personality flaws. All of these things that I listed, they're system flaws. Once you fix the system, everything gets smoother. Inside RISE, the legal support mastery program that just launched, I teach paralegals and other legal support professionals how to find these micro time wasters and build systems to manage the workload smarter. You can learn more about this training and coaching program at paralegalrise.com. That's paralegal, and the RISE is spelled R-I-S-E, paralegalrise.com. But even on your own, let's say you're not taking a course or a training program, even on your own, you can start eliminating some micro time wasters by creating templates and keeping them in a structured folder system that's easy for you to find. using checklists, developing workflows, maybe keeping a quick reference document for your recurring tasks. When you eliminate micro time wasters, you're going to earn back hours every week, I promise you. Well, let's get real. You can't change the workload, but you can change your control over your workload. Here's the motivational part that I want you to really internalize from this episode. You're in a profession where the workload is always going to be heavy. I hate to be the bearer of bad news if this is the first time you're hearing that. Let me repeat that for you. You're in a profession where your workload will always be heavy. You will always have multiple deadlines. You will always be juggling tasks. You might also be juggling working for multiple attorneys. But that does not mean that you're destined to feel overwhelmed forever. You just need the skills, the structure, and the systems that no one really taught you in school. And no one usually has the time to teach you in most law firms. Hopefully, maybe that's not the case for you. Okay, so before you go, I have a free resource, like I mentioned earlier, that pairs perfectly with today's episode, and it's going to continue for several more episodes. In fact, I think there's 8 sections to it, so we're going to do 8 episodes. Again, it's called the Paralegal Survival Toolkit, and section 1 is all about today's topic. So inside there, you're going to get the workload clarity checklist, some prompts to help you prioritize by impact, and a simple mapping template that you can use before starting any assignment. You can download that entire toolkit for free and all at once, all 8 sections, at paralegaltoolkit.com, or just look for the link below the video or in the show notes of the podcast. I'm going to be talking about these over the next several episodes, and I'm going to walk you through each of the sections of that toolkit. Again, it's a free resource, and it's available at paralegaltoolkit.com. Until our next episode, I'm here cheering for your success. You've got this. Bye for now.